How did you get to New York City?
How long do I have?
As much time as you want.
Great. I am originally from Japan, very small town in Japan, and I moved to United States in 2003, and I was in Los Angeles for 10 years. Then after that, I moved to New York City in 2013. So when I first moved here, I was in school. So I went for school in Los Angeles, and it was under a student visa. Then I got my work permit and all that shenanigan you do as an international person. And then I really wanted to try out my path and be on Broadway. So I made the choice to move, and I'm here.
Where in Japan are you from?
I'm from a small town called Aomori, which means blue forest. And it's one of the least populated place in Japan, but it's beautiful. 4 seasons. It snows a lot, and I love visiting, and my parents are still there. And yeah, it's very different from New York.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Is that northern Japan or
northern
where is
Japan? Yeah, top of the main island. So if you see the map, there is a Hokkaido, and the top is a big island, and right underneath it looks like machete, and that's my hometown.
Did you always know you wanted to leave, that you wanted to come to the U.S., or was that something you discovered later?
It was a little bit of a combination. My parents were very much open-minded folks, and they wanted me to experience the world. So I always had the idea of going and visiting different places, but I ended up going to school in Los Angeles. So I feel like, yes, they encouraged me to see the world, and at the same time, I also wanted to be there and explore and meet different people. So I'm here.
What was the appeal about Los Angeles?
It's funny because last year in Japan, I went to a school in Tokyo. So I spent a year in Tokyo. And it was a partner or sister school that associated with a school in California. So by default, I went to the school in California and school in Los Angeles, to be exact. But I always wanted to do a theater. If anything, it was a pit stop before I come into New York. But in Los Angeles, I've met a lot of great people, a lot of teachers, and I'm so grateful. And a lot of friends I still talk to right now. And I don't necessarily miss Los Angeles as a place or a location, but I miss my friends.
Yeah. What was your view of the U.S. before you got here? Were you excited to come? Were you scared to be here? Would you remember what you were thinking?
It's one of those things, when you're 19, your ignorance is a bliss. You just want to get out of your parents' house. You want to see the world. So you're very fearless. So I wasn't scared.
How did you find America when you got here? I don't know if you remember what the components of the culture shock may have been, but I'd love to hear that.
Kind of blurred, to be honest. It was more than 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So I definitely remember, okay, the sky's blue, it's wide, and the pine tree, and all that very stereotypical expression. But that was true for me as well. But I lived as I said, I lived in Tokyo for a year. Compared to that, it was not a city-like. It was more spread out than city, as in New York is like. So very different. Also, it really felt massive, to be honest. But yeah, and people are taller. And I'm 4'10", so if anything, people are taller.
Was Broadway on your mind from a very early age in life? Where did that come from?
So one thing I often tell people is there are 3 reasons that brought me to United States, which is tied to your first question too.
Yeah.
One, I've always wanted to be the voice of Disney princess. So a lot of different things, and I'll watch Disney show with my sister and whatnot. And 2, I loved Sister Act 2.
Whoopi Goldberg.
Whoopi Goldberg. And, I love that movie. And what was the third thing? Oh, yeah. I jokingly, but for reals, I go like, I wanted to be the next Mariah Carey.
So you were always a singer. That was really the thing you were going for, was to be the voice.
I love to sing. Yeah, for sure. I don't pursue it though. But I don't pursue it right now. But I've written song, I recorded, and I've done voiceover work, and I definitely done tons of theater. And yeah.
Did you get a lot of signs when either before or after you came to the US that of encouragement that you should go do this? You have the talent to do this. You can make this real. Or was that more of an internal sense that that was something you wanted to pursue?
I think my intellectual desire drove me more than what you just shared. It feels more gut or intuitive thing, or more, right? Very raw feeling. I feel like I came here. This is what I thought I wanted to do. Hence, I got to make it happen. So that was a lot of my drive. And being an international student or having a work permit and things like that, that put me in a little bit different perspective than American citizens will approach this type of work. And I didn't really educate myself enough to see, okay, if you want to audition for a major TV show, major film, you have to have a proper working visa. Not even to get a job, to get into the room and audition. Those are kind of things that when I came here, I had no idea.
Yeah.
So once I knew about it, all right, what am I going to do? So I always had in the back of my head and have a proper steps and things are in order so that I can continue doing things. Do I have a manager? Do I have an agent? Am I part of the union? Those are things that I also consider during that process. So it was a very different, and of course, to the core of all of that, I had my passion and love for performance, but it definitely was a little bit different.
So when you got to New York, when you finally got here, I think you said 2013.
Yeah.
Did you hit the ground running right away to try to get on Broadway? What was your life like to try to achieve that?
Long story short, I never got to be on Broadway, or at least I haven't. Do I want to try right now? Not so much. And that involves a lot of current climate of representation, what kind of stories are being told, how much of the politics that involves in the production of that, all of the above. And one of the first experience that I had, which I'm very grateful for, is I got involved with an organization called National Asian Artists Project, which is founded by Byok Lee, who is originated the role of Connie Wong in A Chorus Line. And Chorus Line is celebrating 50th year anniversary this year.
Wow.
And so I got to involve with her and her organization and did a chorus project with her and performed in few things with that chorus. So that kind of gave me a foundation of what it was like to be a part of actors and singers and dancers who are also of Asian heritage and Asian Americans, Asian adoptees. And so it gave me a foundation of, okay, this is where I can come back to. And it gave me a sense of where I can go to, who are the people I can look for as a mentor and all of that. And so that was the foundation for me when I first came to New York.
You told me before we started recording that you've had many dashes in your career, many forms of artistry that you've pursued. I'd love for you to outline as best you can what those have been, because it sounds like it's been numerous. What have you been up to?
Numerous indeed. Yeah. I started as a classical trained pianist, and I started at the age of 3 and continued probably right before I finished high school. And I was very competitive. I wanted to really play like a fast, dramatic, like Beethoven and that kind of music. And I loved it. I still play in my home. And although it's not real piano. It's a keyboard, but it still counts. And after that, I really wanted to try the whole pop Disney princess route. So that kind of got me to music and also using acting as a part of the musical performance. And so that really opened up my passion / love for acting, and that I tried for film, TV, theater, and that kind of combined to musical theater. And that led me to New York. And then I started doing more back of the screen, if you will, and the photos, and also doing some camera work, filmmaking, all of that, and including some producing. And then I had a ruptured brain aneurysm last year in June 2024, and that opened up my path for doing more mixed media, using the past work that I've done, creating new one, and also doing lots of paintings. Yeah.
It might not be a bad time if you're open to it talking about that. So that was last year that occurred. I have a friend whose girlfriend had a brain aneurysm many years ago, but I really don't know very much about what that is like to live through. I don't know how much you remember about that moment, but what happened that day? What do you recall?
Yeah. It happened on June 26th, 2024, last year. And I woke up with a really, really, really bad headache. I was like, I'm really good with the pain. I have a high tolerance for pain. Like, I can tolerate a lot, but it was not a normal one, or like the ones that I've ever experienced in the past. It was really, really bad.
Excruciating.
And it was excruciating, and I was throwing up.
Oh my God.
And whatnot. It happened 2:33, like around that time in the morning, a.m. in the morning. And my partner, who lives with me, and he soon realized that this is not okay. So he called an ambulance, and then the ambulance took me to a nearby hospital, and they did the scan, and oh no, you can't stay here. Gotta take you to the specialist, because the scan shown that the aneurysm has ruptured, which means time is of an essence. So they took me to the neurology specialist that's in Long Island. They had a surgery right away, opened the brain. I spent next 2 weeks in ICU, and I'm here.
That entire time of that first day, when you're being shuttled around to all those different medical facilities, were you conscious the whole time?
I have no memory whatsoever.
Really?
No.
But you were still talking. Like, people could communicate with you, or were you unable to respond to people in the outside world?
This is the part my partner can talk more about it. He did say that I was communicating fairly enough. Apparently, I told him, make sure that you take my wallet and all my ID and everything is in it. So apparently I told him that. So that's great. I really don't remember a lot of things because of the ruptured, and didn't know, the doctors didn't know exactly what was going on until they had opened up my brain. Or rather, they do the scan, at least initially. They couldn't really give me a medicine because that might alter whatever that's going on in the brain. So they were doing basically, okay, this is an emergency, that they put tubes in my head so that some of the blood pressure can be released, and doing the angiogram and all of that. So I do remember one thing, which was before I going into the open brain surgery, they're giving me anesthesia. So that I remember, but everything else was blur, especially in the first 24 or 48 hours.
For people that have never heard of this before, what is a brain aneurysm?
So brain aneurysm is, so inside of the brain, you kind of grow a bubble, if you will, so that it starts to swollen. For some people, you might have an aneurysm, which is a swollen part, but mine was, so the balloon basically popped. So according to my doctors, I had aneurysm balloon itself in my brain for quite some time, if anything, a few years,
Really?
but without realizing it. But like once it popped, even though the rupture was very small because it involves a blood and pressure and all the nerve and whatnot goes in, so the blood pressure itself, it really changes. Also, just want to be transparent. I'm not a brain specialist nor nothing, so I might be making things up as I go, but I'm sharing what I know as an experience.
And the pain you said you were experiencing, that was the moment of rupture?
Probably, yeah. Like once it popped, it was, I have no idea.
You also said that once they realized what was happening to you after they saw the scan, and this was at the nearby hospital, I think, that they realized time is of the essence.
Yeah.
Why did they say that? What does that mean?
So basically, it popped and the whole blood and whatnot started to spread inside of the brain, right? So I mentioned that they put the tubes in my head. So to keep the pressure in my brain stabilized. So what was coming out from this tube, basically, I called it a watermelon juice or my brain juice, but it does look like a watermelon juice.
Really?
Because it's the blood that was ruptured. And a few days later, towards the end, by the time they took the tube out from my brain, that was more of like coconut watercolors, like pink and clear. But yeah, it was interesting experience.
I don't know if you have had a chance to talk to your doctors about this, but if you wouldn't have been so close to medical care.
Oh, they did tell me that because I got in there so quick and my partner called an ambulance right away. That's probably I'm still here.
Do you have any idea how long you probably had to get into surgery to be able to survive? That I'm guessing that was within 6 to 12 hours of you having your first symptoms. I could be wrong about that.
I don't know the exact timing of when I did what and what, so I can't really answer that. But after a while, we did a little bit of search, and depending on where you live, right? And like, luckily, I live in New York, so a lot of great medical facilities in New York. So, but according to Brain Aneurysm Foundation, like people who have ruptured, like 50% of the people don't make it to the hospital. Even if you make it to the hospital, then not everybody have a full recovery. A lot of people struggle through somewhat of like disability or brain trauma in the sense of more high sensitivity, or sometimes have cognitive dysfunction and things like that. So I was very, very fortunate.
If this would have happened in your hometown in Japan?
I have no idea. Definitely not as good a facility as I had. I can imagine that.
What do you remember after getting out of surgery? Like your first cognizant memories post-operation? What comes to mind? What do you recall about after you blacked out for that period where you have no memory of those moments? What do you remember?
What was the first thing? That's a great question. I actually don't remember. Actually don't remember. I really don't remember what was the first thing. I vaguely have a feeling that seeing my partner and other folks in the room, and they were probably relieved, and I have the essence of that experience somewhat, but exact details I can't remember.
Do you remember being told shortly thereafter that you're probably going to be okay? What were you told in terms of what your future looked like?
It was more so in a daily assessment that we were doing, and they were kind of telling me, you'll be fine. Yeah, because they do the routine of, okay, can you pull your finger pull it against me, or like, can you lift your foot, right? Can you do you remember where you are? Do you know where you are? Like, I was able to answer that. So they were telling me, I think you're going to be fine. Like, yeah.
And you could speak as well. I mean, you could respond to questions.
I was definitely mumbling a lot.
Yeah.
And also I was on medicated the whole time. So, who knows, right? But I remember being able to articulate for the most part.
I don't know if you've done research on this or have looked into this at all, but if your aneurysm would have occurred in another part of your brain, you said earlier you got lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Is part of that luck where the aneurysm occurred? In addition to you getting medical care very quickly, was part of the luck also where the rupture took place?
I think time was more of an essence than where. It was right behind my left ear, or closer to my left eye. Yeah, it's right behind my eyes. So yeah, lucky for sure. I didn't lose my sight, absolutely. But yeah,
that is insane. This is probably pretty gnarly, but the details of the surgery itself, I don't know how much you know about it, but what happens? Like, they crack your skull open?
Yeah, I have my scar.
So
I have this almost ear-like shape scar on my left side, and yeah.
And so they literally open up your brain.
They open my brain,
put those suction tube in,
and so I have I think they clip something back there, so I have a clip inside. I don't know what that looks like.
Do you know if where you had this surgery performed is one of the best facilities like it in the world?
Mm-hmm.
I assume it probably is.
It is one of the top 10.
Wow.
I was very, very fortunate.
You said earlier that after this took place, you got into painting.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to hear about that, about what motivated you to do it. If it was just sort of a natural transition into a new form of art for you, or how that happened.
Yeah. So before that, I didn't really paint. So I have a younger sister. She is more of a painter than I am. She was more a visual artist. She really had practice or like did that kind of work when we were growing up together at my parents' house. And so when I wanted to paint, when I was coming out from the hospital, I was like, interesting. Why now? But maybe I was on meds and I was high. Who knows? So, and I didn't even have a paint in my house, right? So it was first art was I was using the crayons at home. It's like one of those 12 color pack that you can find on like whatever. And I was just doodling, and I went to like art supply stores later and purchased a few acrylic and like a watercolor, and I started doing things, and it was very soothing for sure. And again, I probably needed something to do without using words, and I didn't have to explain myself, and also very meditative, therapeutic for sure. And like, I often talked about the power of healing in art and any expression, even before the aneurysm, right? Because the storytelling aspect, or being able to write things in a way that makes more healing possible and whatnot. But art was a different form of that for me as an experiential and even more so cognitive or spiritual level. And it really helped me. It really did help me. And also gave me a different perspective. Like, even though when I didn't like what I did, it's like, I'd never been trained for this anyway. So why are you expecting yourself to like what you just did? It's like, no, just try it again. So it was really nice.
Did you find that you were painting certain things, objects, landscapes consistently, or was it completely random?
When I first came back from hospital, I was drawing more like similar to, as my friend Dave would say, a brain. A meaning, if like all the sensories and the cognitive and the neural patterns, like if you see some of the paintings, it looks like the brain map sometimes. So that's what I was doing. And also I tend to draw something that I was seeing in my sonograms. So all the brain waves, like dun, dun,
Sure.
dun. So similar to that, I was painting a lot. But aside from that, like I try to just pick colors that I want and throw it and see what's going to happen. Throw some spaghettis on the wall and see.
When you were doing this new kind of art, was that always in your apartment or did you go somewhere new to
It was always in my apartment. Yeah. I took over the living room.
You said it was quite healing. What, how do you think about that? What do you think it was helping you to do?
I think, let me think. Obviously, the expectations for myself. I think that was one of the things that I definitely released a lot of that. And, you know, being an Asian and being an international person in the United States, like, your expectations for yourself is really high.
Yeah.
And I'm overachiever. I consider myself a recovering perfectionist. All that jazz. So this was the time. It's like, you just do it. And if you like it, great. If you don't, that's great too. So that was really giving me a permission to do things in a way that just feel like it and it's okay. So I just got to do it. So that was really good. And also, I think that was one of the main thing. And just be. I think that was one of the things that I find it important.
I had a recent guest on this show who I didn't know this when I sat down with her, who I learned during the conversation that in addition to being a young mother, she also was diagnosed with cancer a year ago and has recovered and is fully in remission after having a mastectomy.
Amazing.
She talked a lot about how much that experience put in perspective what she's doing with her life. I don't know how you could go through something like that and not have it shake you to some degree and sober you about how fragile life can be. How has it affected you in terms of your outlook on what you're doing in life in general?
How long do I have is the question that I go back to.
I'm sure.
It definitely gave me layers of perspective, which I am very grateful for. And to be honest, in the early days, let me back up a little bit. Yeah, early days, especially when I was still in hospital too, I asked myself that question, like, what would you have regret if I just died? And some of the clearer answers were, I wanted to see my family again, especially my nephew. I love that kid to death. And so that was one of the things. And also, all right, I want to make sure that if I'm dying, like I want to prepare something so that whoever that needs to take care of my dead body can cremate me and throw me in the ash, throw in the ocean, right? So that was something that became really clear for me. But in terms of how I've lived up until this point, it's like if I died, I would have been fine with it. That was very, very clear to me, even when I was in a hospital. And last year, during the time of recovery, unfortunately, I lost few people in my life that was really inspirational for me. And that put me in a perspective, like, why they're dead and I'm alive?
Yeah.
I really questioned myself. And especially, like, the people that I lost, they have children or some of them are grown, but they have the children of their own. And here I am. I don't have any child to look after aside from like my family. So it really put me in the perspective, or rather left me with a question of why am I still here?
Yeah.
I still don't have the answer, but that answer may not be found until I really die, if I'm lucky. So one thing I can say is that why not do something you love right now and be grateful for that?
I think you said that, I know you just said this, that, if you would have died, you wouldn't have many regrets, that you were okay with the life you've led.
Yeah.
How has art, and I'm kind of fascinated this in meeting so many artists over the last few months about people that really choose to go down the artistic road in life. Do you think that having committed yourself to the arts gave you that kind of equanimity, that kind of calm and perspective that you just articulated, that you're good, that you've kind of expressed yourself throughout your life, it seems like, in a variety of different ways?
There are many different phases of arts, and I'm sure you've talked to many artists, so you kind of already have the idea and belief that art means so many different things.
Yeah.
Right? Art means so many things. Your life can be an art. Your expression can be an art. Your therapy can be an art. Your business can be an art. Anything can be an art form. Your motherhood can be an art form. As list goes on and on. So if you're thinking that way, what does art mean? I see that as a relationship with human, the relationship with each other, and relationship with every single moment in my life. So what can I cherish in that moment? What kind of relationship do I want to create with this person or that person? How can I be grateful for each moment or be a gift for somebody else? If you keep showing up in that way, that's great. That's what I aspire. And I'm not motivated by financial growth or anything like that. I'm someone, if I want money, that way that money can pay somebody to do a collaboration with me or build a set for me or operate the camera for me or things like that, right? And I think experiencing this almost dying made me realize, okay, I can't take none of that with me if I die, so why should I? That became more and more clear. So each moment means so much more than acquiring something or caring or being obsessed with something over little tiny things, or so it seems anyway. And yeah, I learned to cherish each moment more deeply than before. And art really is, for me at least, it's a tool to connect with people. Just like you were saying, it's this is an excuse for you to get to know different people.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So for me, art is an excuse for me to communicate and understand. And we are so much similar than we think we are. And that has been a beautiful experience. And I can't ask any more than that.
I think you just articulated this quite well, but I want to make sure I ask this directly. I don't know how you could go through what you did and not have it clarify in many ways how you're spending your time and energy. You just spoke to this a little bit, but are there any other things in life that you have found you place a very high premium on now? Like you're prioritizing it at a higher level than you once did?
Let me think on that. Many things. One of the new thing after the aneurysm might be not pushing myself too much to the edge all the time. Like a little masochistic energy, right? But when you're an overachiever or when you are driving with that energy, especially when you're doing something you love, right? I feel like you can relate to that. Oh. You can just keep doing what you love because that's what you love. And by the time you realize, I haven't slept in how long, right? Or I only slept 3 hours. You can keep doing what you're doing, but just as much as that, taking care of yourself and not exhausting yourself, that I'm cognitively aware that is very important. And so that's one of the new thing for me. Just make sure that you take care of your body as well. But remind me question one more time.
The priorities, like if the list of priorities in your life, what has grown in importance to you post-aneurysm, if anything?
Yeah. Post-aneurysm, what do I prioritize aside from my like physical well-being? Again, people, including myself. Showing up with integrity and value and not doing for XYZ reason that I could get. Like, no, sometimes you just get to show up because you want to.
To flip that question around, I'm wondering if there are things you have given up on or have just removed from your life or are trying to remove from your life that you're like, this is bullshit. I don't need this. It's just not that important. In the grand scheme of things, I'm just going to put this to bed or move away from this.
Yeah, I think things that I need to, or I am in the process of letting go. It's not necessarily because of in that context that you just said, this is bullshit or anything like that. Just because I realize the priority, right? Some stuff that even when I do love things, it just don't make any sense. Like, for example, I've shared that I want to spend more time with my family, go see them in Japan. And so if I'm doing something more location centric, like for example, if I want to curating an event or curating X, Y, and Z, or even shooting a film all the time here in New York, I can go visit Japan, right? So how do I want to create the life I envision? How do we make that happen? I think that being able to see the long term and where I want to go to versus what needed immediately might not always be in alignment. So when I see both sides, how do I create the life path or means to survive in a way that makes sense for me in long term? So the idea of long term kind of reflects on what I'm doing and what I have been doing and being able to shift. That's kind of phase that I'm in. So that not necessarily because this is bullshit, I don't want to do this anymore, versus like, this is important, hence I need to shift. That's kind of where I'm at.
Before this happened to you, were you religious in any serious way? I don't know what your views of life were at that point. I'm sure you get asked that all the time.
I do get asked a lot. I don't consider myself a religious in a way that was created by humans. I do believe in higher beings. I do believe in the spiritual connection between higher thing. And I choose to use the word God just because it makes sense for me. But I do believe in that. So I again say that I'm more spiritual, but not religious.
Is that your view of the world, is it the same pretty much as what you had before the aneurysm happened? Like your
I think so.
Does that include, and I think this is probably mostly what people are driving at when they must ask you this question all the time, which is like, do you have a view of an afterlife? Like if you wouldn't have gotten access to medical care as quickly as you did and you weren't here, what do you think is that? What would that have meant for you? Is that in your mind? Is that like lights out? Time's up. Life's over. Like, not that anyone really knows the answer to that question, but I'd be curious what you think of that.
I've always been the person that when I die, I want my ashes to be spread in the ocean. So I guess I can say that I will go back to the earth. But in terms of energetic being, or I don't know if I believe in reincarnation, or if it is, I'm not against to it. And I think that's wonderful. But now that you're asking this question, one thing that I thought about when I was younger was if I were to come back, I wanted to be a dolphin. I'm Pisces. What can I say?
Oh my God. Dolphin. So do you have a firm view on whether you think your consciousness would have survived that if in some way, if you wouldn't have survived, if you hadn't gotten medical care, are you more agnostic about that, or do you have a pretty strong sense of what you think?
I'm pretty open-minded, right? So consciousness, what does that mean? And would my being be continued or spread around in some way or the other? Yes, my energy would probably live amongst my friends, my family, and as long as people remember me, that will be around, right? And in terms of technology, my presence will be around because I'm dead and without taking care of all of them. So those will be around. But I'm open to all the ideas. I have no definite, this can not happen or this should happen. I am none of those.
Does that scare you? I think for a lot of people, they're terrified of not knowing, or they're terrified of believing that there is nothing afterwards and that this is really a temporary experience and then it's over. Having brushed death about as closely as anyone can, and now still seemingly like making a miraculous recovery, where do you come down on that? Does that scare you, the prospect, how close you got to being dead?
No, I'm not scared of that. Like I'm sad for the people I leave behind, especially my family. Like one thing that I promised my parents when I was growing up, or my parents made me promise when I was growing up, was that don't die before them. That was something that they strictly told me not to.
Okay.
So that's like, if I were dead last year, then that's the one thing that I would regret, or I'll be sad or scared or whatnot, because I don't want to see them cry. I don't want to see them suffer, even right now. And I know that they're scared, even when they don't say it, right? So that is one of my concern. But aside from that, what can you do? You're dead.
How is your health these days?
My health. I think I am very healthy, recovering, but I don't know when you'll be releasing this, but I'll be sure. Why not? I'll be honest. So I had a 1-year checkup, and they discovered a resurgence.
Oh no!
So I will be taking care of that in the next few months, and again, this time around, I know that we were able to catch it early on. We can monitor, and I already have doctors who have already operated me, who knows my history. So, and that they are top doctors. So, I'm very grateful for that, and and I'm not scared, I guess. Like and that's not something I can control. I don't need to be in control of the situation. I will do my best to be my best self. But yeah. But aside from that, I'm doing great.
What does that mean? There was a resurgence. Is it the exact same location? What did they discover? Yeah,
so the resurgence is so I did an angiogram, which means putting dye in your system so that when you scan, people or doctors can see it more clearly what's going on in my brain. And so they sound literal, not ballooning or swell, if you will. And so that is very close to where it was in the past. It was almost like right on top of each other from my past. Yeah.
So they need to go in and proactively pop the bubble. What are they going to do?
So right now we are taking the option that will put in a stent, so that the stent can control the blood flow, so that ballooning would not continue to grow. Which means a little bit of observation, monitoring, and whatnot in the post-procedure. And I'm very new to this myself, so I'm learning it. And so, yeah, I'll probably find out more and learn more about it as I do a little bit more research and talking to doctors.
This is going to require surgery, I assume.
This will not be open brain surgery. Yeah, so luckily, technology. God bless.
So how will they be able to do this?
So they'll put something from the angiogram basically through my vein.
Up into your brain?
Yeah, it's fascinating, right? I don't even know how they do that, but apparently there's a technology.
Wow.
I know.
So it's not that invasive.
It's not invasive. Yeah, that is correct.
What's their confidence level that this will work and that you'll continue to be okay?
They still tell me I had to monitor it, right? Like monitor it, and there are like chances of there is always a possibility. Nothing is perfect. Nothing is permanent. So there is a possible thing could be because of there is stroke or like whatnot, right? But they're just very transparent with the information so far, and I'm not a medical profession, so I don't know a lot. I'm just repeating what they told me. Yeah. Everything is new to me. Yeah. I'm learning as I go.
So this is later this year that this procedure is going to take place? Are you still painting?
I am still painting. Yeah.
Tell me about the art you're up to these days.
Tell me about the art I'm up to. I'm still painting, and I'm also trying to write a book about it.
Wow.
That's something that I've been asked. Like, are you going to write a book about it? And it's like, maybe. But I don't know if that was exactly about the rupture, but it's something that I learned from the experience, like something that I value. And what's the meaning of art? Why art is in the situation that it is right now in this world, right? We talked about art is a very broad word. It's a very complex word. Like it can be from commercial use, it can be for community work, it can be for therapeutic tool, it can be for oral history, narrative, it can include technology. So what does that mean? And over the course of years, how I've experienced the world with art and how I perceive not only the art, but the value that's attached to that relationship that people associate with the word art. So the role of art in this world in general, like I've done so much research and work around this in the past few years. So I would love to share that, especially adding my experience and seeing, look, when you're near death, when you have experienced that, a lot of things would be more clear to you. So what does it matter to you? Can we bring more love and kindness into every decision that you make? That's something that I would love to write in that book. And how does it come? I have no idea. I'm still sketching out some of the things that I want to include in. So see what's going to happen. Outside
of the upcoming procedure you're going to have done, do you have any enduring side effects from the aneurysm?
One of the thing is that my sensitivity towards sound and crowd has changed a little bit. Not as much as like super early on post surgery. Like I used to have minor anxiety attack when I'm near a crowd and things like that. But now not so much. I can walk around the city, but I still carry my earplug everywhere. Like one of those concert ones that you like a decibel goes down a little bit. Yeah. So that is a good friend for me in my life right now. And sometimes when I'm in the room with the people, just like house party or like a friend gathering and multiple conversations are going on and the sound bouncing off of the wall and that when I don't know where the sounds are coming from, I get overwhelmed. So that can be tough, which is kind of detriment to what I do, right? If you're in the theater or the film industry, that's kind of environment that you have to live in. So it was really scary for me when I first came out from the hospital. It's like, wow, I might not be able to do this ever again. Which is a common symptom for the folks who recover from the traumatic brain injury, like the grieving and the loss of identity is that people go through a lot. But luckily, again, I'm recovering very well. And yeah, so that's the main thing. And I notice myself mumble a little bit, especially when I feel nervous. But those are the main things.
How has this affected how you think about your, I don't know, goals for life in the artistic world, if at all? I know you mentioned you were a perfectionist. How do you think about how this experience has affected you in thinking about, your goals for the future in the art world?
It made uncertainty less scary, I would say. And so that's good. I'm really not good at setting goals. What does it mean? For me, I'm really good at setting goals that sounds good. It doesn't mean that I really want to do it. I don't necessarily want to do it. But that's something that often that I see, like, those like an incubator program or like, entrepreneur group or things like that. And it's like, what's your goal? Do you want to go for it? And then in that context, I can set goal that sounds so good for other people. But do I really want to do it? Not really.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily want to put higher goal or what it seems like the right goal for other people. So that level of pressure went away for me. It's like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I don't have to do that. In terms of other things, it's like my family, again, going back to that all the time. But I guess I'm still figuring out what is my goal. Like,
if I just heard you correctly, the setting goals and sounding goal-oriented for other people, that tendency seems to have been mostly eliminated or is just gone. Like that, it just doesn't matter, I think is what you said.
Yeah, I think so. I can definitely say that. I mean, like, it's a habit, right?
Yeah.
It's a long time habit that I built over the course of years. So
sounding impressive.
Yeah, sounding impressive. Listen, I'm a people pleaser. So if I want to really be honest, how do I be honest with yourself? I think that itself is a question of its own, especially now. You have your public persona, you have your private persona, and if you dig down deep and what do you really, really want? And those are things that a lot of people don't necessarily ask that question, and the peer pressure or what society seems like make it, this is a great goal for everyone. That's very different from everybody's personal goal. And just really sit down with yourself and ask yourself, what do you really want? And be truly honest, brutally honest with yourself. That's a hard thing to do. And yeah.
But I would think in a weird, fucked up way, that maybe going through what you did really helps incentivize that kind of getting real. It gives you permission in a way that I would think a lot of people may not feel like they have permission to be brutally honest with themselves about what they want. I don't know if you agree with that, but
no, I think so. Definitely agree with that.
Like a near-death experience must, if nothing else, that I would think would be the experience that would help motivate somebody to get real about how they're living and what they want in a real way.
Yeah, even just to test something, right? Just hypothesis in your brain. Like, for example, I'm a part of the cooperative. We run community center, multipurpose center in the city. So a lot of things are member run. Not a lot of things. Everything is member run. So it's hard to be in the situation without top-down structure built in, because you're always told what to do if you're in a corporate situation, as opposed to in this cooperative, everything's okay, we'll figure it out, right? So when we think about what is my role and how does that impact other people, I got to see it in the real tangible way, because when I was out, everybody was like, oh my God, Yuko's not here. We had to do this, we had to do that, we had to do this, we had to do that. So everything became so crystal clear. And it was really cool for me to witness that and experience, okay, what is it that I'm doing that is helping people and also robbing people from their growing experiences? And like all of that put me in the perspective. So I built a practice of, okay, if I'm out for 2 weeks or even a month, how would that impact other people? So that way of thinking is really helpful to see a bigger picture and impact amongst your people around you. And I find it fascinating. Like,
last question I'd love to ask you is about advice you would have. I mean, you have navigated waters that very few people in this world ever will, especially for being, young, relatively young.
I'm about to be 42.
Well, hopefully you're not halfway there yet. What advice would you give someone who might come across this, who is you in July of last year, about, obviously, aneurysm patients have a spectrum of how the seriousness of what they're going through, but what advice would you give someone who's in the early stages of recovery? And this isn't even necessarily applicable to just aneurysm patients, but people who have faced like an existential illness. What's worth knowing in your experience, or what advice would you give a friend who's going through something like that?
First, I want to start by, I do not wish upon anybody for this, but if you are experiencing, or if anybody who's listening is experiencing that or in that situation, try to reach out. I know that's going to be the hardest thing, especially in New York, or especially when you're over high achiever or like, right? But reach out to people. And even when it seems like there's no help, whether that is people or the system or whatnot, but there are so many more people who's experiencing the same thing or similar circumstances. So reaching out and getting the help, whatever that may be, even just talking to people, that is very, very important. And one example that I share is like I started going to a support group for brain injury survivors. And that put me in the perspective, okay, people are going through this. People are going through that. Oh, this is a symptom that I can relate with. This is the information that I didn't know I needed, but now they're talking about it, so I can use that. So even just that was a great help for me. So you're definitely not alone is what I would share, even when it feels like it.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you so much for having me.